I'm Jono. This is Norton versus Kaspersky. Let's check their threat signatures.
One of these companies installed a cryptocurrency miner on its customers' machines. The other used its security update channel to silently replace itself with software from a different vendor, Norton and Kaspersky. Both score at the top of every independent antivirus test. Both have used the elevated system access their customers granted them to do things those customers did not ask for. Norton is owned by Gen Digital, a company whose portfolio includes the antivirus brand that was caught selling user browsing data. Kaspersky is a private Russian company whose founder exposed intelligence tools belonging to the government that would later ban his software from its largest market. The detection engines are excellent. The organizations behind them are the reason this comparison exists. And the question neither company wants you to ask is whether the protection is worth the cost of trusting the company providing it. Norton's corporate story is a story of accumulation. Peter Norton's disk recovery tools became Symantec's antivirus brand. Symantec's consumer division became Norton LifeLock. Norton LifeLock acquired Avast for over $8 billion and renamed itself Gen Digital. The portfolio now spans Norton, Avast, Avira, LifeLock, Reputation Defender, and a Windows optimization tool that suffered a supply chain attack. Revenue for fiscal 2025 reached nearly $4 billion, 500 million total users. The scale is enormous, and the revenue engine that sustains it is a subscription model built around promotional introductory pricing that rises significantly at renewal. Norton 360 is not antivirus alone. It bundles a virtual private network, cloud backup, a password manager, dark web monitoring, deepfake detection, and on higher tiers, LifeLock identity theft protection with a restoration specialist. For households that want one subscription covering everything, the bundle is the widest available. The independent testing results confirm the protection quality. Both major testing organizations rated Norton at the top in 2025. The detection is not in question. The billing complaints are consistent enough to describe as structural. Charges appearing after subscriptions have supposedly ended. Renewals on cards users believed were expired. Existing customers paying more than new customers for the same product. A product that requires a proprietary removal tool to uninstall. And the credential stuffing incident in January 2023. A password manager company notified its customers that their saved passwords may have been exposed because the accounts protecting those vaults lacked the authentication to stop automated login attempts. Norton's systems were not breached. The passwords may have been read anyway. Kaspersky's story is a story of capability turning into liability. Eugene Kaspersky built a company whose research team exposed state-sponsored cyber attacks that no other firm had the depth to find. The same capabilities that produced that research, the global telemetry, the behavioral analysis, the deep system access across millions of endpoints, are the capabilities that made governments conclude the risk of trusting a Russian company with that access was unacceptable. In 2017, federal agencies were prohibited from using Kaspersky products. In June 2024, the Commerce Department banned Kaspersky from new American transactions entirely. Sanctions followed on 12 senior executives. Kaspersky's transparency initiative relocated data processing to Switzerland, opened centers where vetted researchers can review the source code, and invited independent audits of its data handling. The effort was more transparent than what most competitors offer. It did not change the structural reality that a Russian corporate entity operates under Russian legal jurisdiction, regardless of where its servers sit. Outside the United States, Kaspersky remains fully operational. European data protection authorities have not matched the ban. Security professionals across Europe continue to recommend it on technical merit. The company reported record revenue in 2024, demonstrating that the American market, while significant, was not the only market sustaining the business. The detection results support the recommendation. The Austrian testing body gave Kaspersky its highest rating across all 7 consumer categories. The German testing body awarded top scores for protection and usability. The system footprint is lighter than Norton's, and the false positive rate is among the lowest in the industry. The Ultra AV migration in September 2024 completed the damage. Kaspersky used the same update mechanism it used for virus definitions to uninstall itself and install replacement software from a different vendor on American machines. the process completed without a confirmation step. System administrators found it on managed endpoints without approval. Users whose subscriptions had not expired sought refunds and were refused. A company that had spent decades earning technical respect demonstrated in a single month that when the pressure arrived, it would use the access it had been trusted with to act without permission and decline accountability afterward. What makes Norton and Kaspersky worth comparing directly is not their detection rates. Both score at the top of every credible independent test. The Austrian testing organization and the German testing body both gave top ratings to both products in 2025. The protection quality is not the differentiator and has not been for years. The built-in security in modern Windows scores comparably for core malware detection. The honest question is no longer which antivirus catches more threats. It is which company you are willing to give elevated access to your system and what that company has demonstrated it will do with that access when the pressure changes. Norton installed a cryptocurrency miner on users' machines. The feature used idle computing resources to mine through a Norton-managed pool, generating revenue for the company using customers' hardware and electricity. The network transition that made that kind of mining obsolete removed the feature automatically. The miner is gone, the precedent is not. Kaspersky used its update channel to replace itself with software from a different company without a confirmation dialog. The ban created the pressure. The mechanism Kaspersky chose to respond was indistinguishable from the behavior its own software would flag if any other program attempted it. Both companies have demonstrated that the trust a security product requires is a trust they are willing to use for purposes their customers did not agree to. Norton's version was commercial, Kaspersky's version was operational, neither asked permission, and both operate in contexts where the broader organizations behind them carry histories that complicate the trust further. Gen Digital inherited a vast data selling controversy and a supply chain attack from another portfolio product. Kaspersky operates under a legal jurisdiction that creates a compulsion mechanism no amount of Swiss data hosting can eliminate. The detection engines are equivalent. The trust records are not equivalent to what a security product should demand. If you are in the United States, the comparison collapses to a single legal fact. Kaspersky is banned. It no longer receives updates for American installations. Running antivirus software without current threat definitions creates the illusion of protection without the substance. Norton remains fully legal, fully supported, and fully capable. The billing practices are aggressive. The Gen Digital portfolio carries inherited controversies. The credential stuffing incident means the password manager component has a documented failure in the one area where it needed to succeed. But Norton works, Norton is updated, and Norton is available. For American users, the choice is not between Norton and Kaspersky. It is between Norton and the alternatives that do not carry Norton's billing baggage. If you are outside the United States, the calculation changes. Kaspersky's detection rates are at least equal to, and in several categories, better than Norton's. The system footprint is lighter. The false positive rate is among the lowest in the industry. The pricing is more transparent. European regulators have assessed the geopolitical risk and not prohibited the product. The question is whether you accept the jurisdictional risk that comes with running security software from a Russian company, understanding that Russian law creates a compulsion mechanism that operates independently of where the data is processed. Neither Norton nor Kaspersky has emerged from the last 3 years with its trust record intact. Norton's failures are commercial. Aggressive billing, a cryptocurrency miner, and a password manager breach that should not have been possible. Kaspersky's failures are operational and jurisdictional. A silent software replacement and a legal structure that no transparency initiative can fully resolve. The detection engines protect your computer. The organizations behind them have each demonstrated that protection is not the only thing they will use their access for.